The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into the latest edition of Crossed Flags. I'm Steve West, Matt Nicholson here. We're going to bring in a special guest here in just a moment, but first things first, we are gearing up for a November here. We're at the end of the month, and I'm just now going to tell Matt this. We are going to take Thanksgiving weekend off. Now you know. We're going to be able to spend time with our family so that you can as well. So the big show will be taking that weekend off. We will have a podcast that week, I think, if the producer that's over there that we'll introduce here in just a moment happens to be here that Thanksgiving week. We'll find that out in a moment. We'll also be talking about the NHRA on this weekend's big show, going back to a place they haven't been to in almost 30 years, and we'll tell you a little bit about why they haven't gone back there as well. So plenty to get to on the big show coming up this Saturday, but for now, we're going to be a little bit looser here. If you are a long-term viewer here of Crossed Flags, you might remember that producer Molly has had a chance to do some interviews with us. And we haven't done that in a while, so we thought, why not? Let's bring that back a little bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in producer Molly.
The Unplugged version.
Yeah, the Unplugged version, exactly.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Glad to have you back. It hasn't been that long since we returned to the studio here. So we were happy to get back into the studio, and thank you very much for being a part of the show once again. We do appreciate it. So we thought, let's play a little bit with the whole interviewing process. Now, she's gotten a lot better at this because she was kind of a novice when she first started doing this, but now she's a veteran. She's good. So we turn the tables over to her.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you. I try. Just starting out, can you just give a general overview of what it is you do exactly? From day to day, whether it's with this podcast, everyday life, on the weekends. What is your, job title, I should ask?
I would have one of those business cards that would need to be about yay long because I've got this many jobs.
No kidding.
But the two main things that I do, I'm the producer for the Dixon and Vining Show on Talk 99.5. And if you are watching this on the YouTube page for realtalk995.com, you know that. In addition, I also was very happy to kind of found what was the progenitor of the Championship Racing Network. And started off as a little 15-minute show on a Saturday afternoon and ballooned into a 2-hour program that we've been doing now for, I think I've been doing this for 15, 16 years now. So it's been a lot of fun to do that. And it just started off as NASCAR and then started to expand out with somebody asking, hey, would you do some Formula One? And I thought, well, if I'm going to do Formula One, I probably ought to do Indycar. And then it just kept adding. So it became a lot of fun. And then in addition, I'm also one of the PA announcers out at Talladega Superspeedway. I'm the lead tower announcer at Talladega Superspeedway on race weekends. And I get to do that as well at Barber Motorsports Park on IndyCar weekend. So it's a lot of fun. I get to do all kinds of different things, and they're all, based upon what I get to do with my voice, and doing kind of what we're doing right here. I have always wanted to be in radio ever since I was about 12, 13 years old, and listening to Casey Kasem and thinking, wouldn't that be a cool job? And that's how I got into radio. Very simple. Matt?
So, kind of to follow that up, which is mine's not as long as him. The day job, just simply put, the day job, I am an insurance broker for a insurance company based out of Atlanta. Basically, the entire state of Alabama is almost mine. Travel to go see people with whatever needs they may have. And weekend stuff, do the radio show with him. And it is still on the unofficial business card. The still scoreboard operator at Talladega Superspeedway. When they put my pylon back up, I will be back up there. Not if, but when they put my pylon back up. Been a part of this, the part of the big show program for actually January will be 9 years.
I was thinking it was going on a decade.
9 years. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but doing it for 9 years, and I competed in motorsports for 11 years. running on regional dirt tracks throughout the state and in western Georgia, eastern Mississippi, and I never competed in Tennessee or never competed in Florida. It was just right here, but through Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi.
All right, cool. With the competing, how did you get into competing? And Steve, did you ever do any competitions?
The only real sports I ever got into, I tried a few in high school. None of them ever stuck, and just made it more apparent that it was easier for me to talk about it than it was to actually do it. So no, I can't say as I've ever
relate
competed.
to that.
Well, from the motorsports competing side of it, 2007 had the opportunity, a family friend of ours, as well as another competitor that competed on tracks with one of my high school best friends. A friend of his had a car that was for sale. He got busted up really bad in a car accident and wasn't able to drive. And this was a brand new car, freshly built, fresh engine, fresh everything in it. And the guy made Dad and I a deal, and we talked about it for about a week. And then a week later, we go get the car, and that's the birth of our team right there. And then it was about 2 weeks later, because anybody that gets a car, what you do is you tear the car apart and you put it back together to where you know your hands have been on it. So that way you know nothing is left loose, because the absolute worst thing that you can have happen is if you don't touch something on that car, whatever you may be driving, if you don't touch something on that car and it comes loose, it's too much of I call it too much of a suspense, because I've had that happen. It's not fun. And then that was the birth of our team. And then we competed for 11 years until the first major catastrophic, and I mean catastrophic, engine failure. And at the time, my wife and I were expecting our first son. So I just made the decision that, hey, let's just stop for a little bit. But everyone that knows my story knows that spiraled out of control in a hurry. And the right opportunities never came along to be able to do that. But I still say when the right opportunity does come along, I will explore it. But it just really hasn't yet.
For more of the broadcasting side of things, how did you get into broadcasting, and what drew you in particular to racing?
Chronologically, the racing part actually did come first. What made me get real interested in it was watching the famed 1979 Daytona 500. And I say famed because of two things specifically. On that Sunday morning of that particular Daytona 500, the east coast of the United States of America was socked in with a either blizzard or ice storm, depending on exactly what part of the country you were in. And nobody really could go anywhere. And it was Sunday anyway, so nobody really wanted to go anywhere. So here comes, what are we going to do? Well, you start flipping around on the TV, and here comes CBS with their very first ever live flag-to-flag coverage of the race. Sat down and watched it. Got fascinated by it. Been fascinated by cars ever since I was a little kid anyway, so that made it all the more interesting to me. Amazed that I didn't actually go to my dad and go, hey, Dad, I want to try that. Talk about a missed opportunity. But anyway, a couple of years later, started thinking about, like I said, about 12, 13 years old, started thinking about it, listening to Casey Kasem on Sunday mornings, doing America's Top 40 and thinking, that'd be a cool job to have. And started thinking about it more and more for senior year in high school. Was told about an internship possibility. So I went down to my favorite radio station at the time, what is now Molly's station. Back then it was a music station called I-95. And I asked about an internship, and the person at the desk said, what department? And I thought for half a second and said, what departments do you have? She listed off 5 different ones, but I was smart enough to understand the word programming. And I said that, and she said, here, fill this out. And I got the internship that day. I'll tell you what actually cinched it for Brad Regal. Thank you, Brad, for hiring me. It was a 1-sheet on the front. Last question on it. I mean, it's all basic stuff: name, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, blah, 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 right? What do you want to do? Things like that. At the bottom, the last question was, do you have any relatives in show business? I took the question seriously. And I remembered my grandmother at one point in time telling me and my sister that we had, I want to say, a second or maybe third cousin who was out in Hollywood and was an extra. Never had a speaking line. You only ever saw them walking back and forth in the background of scenes on the TV show The Love Boat. Brad looked at that, read that, and went, "You admitted to that?" I went, "Yes, I did." He went, "You're hired." And from there, I went to broadcasting school because I still felt like I had some things to learn, and they helped me get my first job in late 1987.
Well, it's kind of in the same chronological order with me. My first time I went to a race was 1989 at Talladega. It was in the infield, just sitting in the back of a pickup truck and then turn two. And to what Dave Moody would say, touching the doorknob of hell because it was in July.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hot as all get out.
Mm.
And that really piqued my interest right then. I was hooked from the word go. And then not very long thereafter, I remember going out to Birmingham International Raceway to watch the old Chevron Dello Big Rig Series.
Oh, yes.
Watching that out there. And then 1989, that streak at Talladega started my yearly routine of being at every race weekend, at every event, and I have not missed one since. From the broadcasting side of it, it really how that lured me in is there was something dealing with social media. They had on a social media post on the old former name of the program. About the All-Star.
Several homes ago, too.
Several homes ago. It was dealing with the All-Star race at Charlotte that I had attended that year. And I commented on something on it, and I can't remember. I think it was him. It was like, "Hey, call in and talk about it." Mm-hmm. And I did. Well, once they learned that I was a driver at the short track, I got in a few weeks later, got invited in as like a driver interview for a local driver. And then the rest is history. Because there was...
he just kept hanging around.
Yeah. And look where it got me.
Yeah.
It was Thanksgiving. I think it was Thanksgiving week of that year. Him and the former co-host, they were both going to be out of town on holidays and asked me if I would do the 1 hour live. I'm like, sure. Okay. It's
Nothing
yours.
like being put on the spot.
Yours. You do what you want to with it. I was like, oh boy, here we go. And did it. And the feedback was really, really good. What they had told to them. And then January of 2017, here we are.
Yep. Brought him on board. He became the resident driver.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So with that, and kind of being in broadcast, and it doesn't really matter what career path you're going in, everyone always says that connections are one of the most important things, and they can help you reach that next step in your career. So, with your journey and then with your journey as well, they're both very different, but how are you able to kind of get your foot in the door, especially with something like Talladega?
Okay. Well, mine is a kind of a twisted road to get out there, truth be told. It was 1999. I was working for a country station here in the city, and I was a part-timer. So they were trying to give me as many hours as they could. And I appreciate that because I was not full-time yet, needed something. And they, like I said, they were feeding me a whole lot. Well, there was a giveaway that we were doing that summer where I had to take the station van out and spot bumper stickers of that radio station. And if I called into the station and I called your license plate number out and you just waved, you were a winner of $100.
Now that's a giveaway.
Yeah. And you were automatically put into the drawing, and the grand prize was going to be a car. It was not a great car, by the way. It was the rebirthed, short-lived Mercury Capri. That car was a piece of junk. But we gave it away anyway. And I was driving back and listening to the morning show, and this will tell you what station it is if you are a long-term listener here. I was driving back to the radio station, had it on. I was listening to Dollar Bill talk about how he was missing out on an opportunity that weekend because he had committed to acting in a play at Samford University's Virginia Theater. The opportunity he was missing out on was a media race at Birmingham International Raceway. Well, I went, hello. So I immediately called in had to wait for them to go to commercial. But when they did, finally, I said, get me in touch with whoever I need to be in touch with. And I want to do the media race. And he was like, absolutely. So he called Joey and Ray, and got me in touch with them. And they said, sure, come on out. So I go out on Thursday of that week, and we're in what's called an Allison Legacy car. It looked exactly like the NASCAR stock cars of that year, except they were about 3/4 the size, give or take, 2/3, 3/4 the size.
Yep.
Running 4 cylinders and a 4-speed transmission. And they said, okay, get in here and let's go. I was slow. I didn't know how to run the track. Wasn't sure what I was doing, really. I was just trying to get used to the car. And they flagged me in and they said, dude, you're like a second and a half slower than everybody else. And so they sent all the regular guys out and let them do their test session in that. And he said, okay, watch the line, look at what they're doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing, because I was trying to, cut down the corner and all that kind of stuff. So they put me back out there again, and I picked up 4 seconds. And he said, that'll be good enough for the pole if you do that tomorrow. And I'm like, let's do it. Got rained out. Never came back again to do the media race. So I never got that opportunity. But 2 years later, they were looking for a PA announcer at Birmingham International Raceway, and Ray called me up, asked me if I'd be willing to do it. And I said, sure. So I was one of their last PA announcers, last track announcers at Birmingham International Raceway. They paired me up with a guy by the name of Dave McDaniel for the last 3 years of it, and he and I had a great time. Well, during that time, I switched around a couple of jobs, as one does in radio, and I started to work up here at our home office when Jocks was on AM only. Mm-hmm. And the morning host was Matt Coulter, who is the trackside announcer at Talladega Superspeedway, was then, is now, has been since 1983. And he was doing the Talladega Superspeedway show, an hour show, kind of like what we do, except it was all about NASCAR. And he had me sit in on a couple of occasions. And then he had the opportunity. He said, we need a fill-in. Would you be interested in doing fill-in PA up at Talladega? And I said, sure. And apparently they liked me. And it was through Matt Coulter that I got the job. And from the spring race of 2007 till now, currently, I've been in the tower at Talladega Superspeedway. So it was all through a weird run of connections going from Dollar Bill to Joey, Ray, and to Matt Coulter.
It's kind of I would say the same twisted path, if you want to look at it that way, because it was 2017, the fall race. It was upcoming. The spring race, I was up in the tower with him and the former co-host.
Yeah, who abandoned.
Who just abandoned real quick.
We'll just leave it at that.
And then it was late July. It was around late July. We caught wind that, this upcoming race, I just want to go be a fan. Huh? My immediate thought was, you're getting paid to do this and sit, and you're still technically being a fan, but you want to go sit. Okay. I remember the date. It was August the 9th.
My birthday.
It was August the 9th. My phone rings, and it's, at the time, it's Russell Branham. I'm like, what the heck is Russell? Russell never calls me. What is Russell calling me for? Hey, Bubba. Hey, you free tomorrow? You swing by here to the track and holler at us? Sure. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to ask me to. Sure. So I go to the main admin building, meet with him, and we go back there and sit, and it's me and him and the late Grant Lynch talking, and it made me laugh. Russell was like, what are you nervous about? I'm like, I'm just here at a random conversation. Well, I don't know what's going on. Well, you're good. I promise you're good. Well, we need somebody to fill in because, Steve told you about Dustin. And, well, sorry, I named him right there, but, whatever.
If you're a long-term listener, you knew that anyway.
So we need somebody to fill in. And Steve recommended you to fill in for him. I'm like, you sure you got the right guy? Yeah, I mean, Russell, he said, heck, I know you. You know everything there is to know. You would be able to do like really good feedback, like a color analyst kind of guy, color analyst PA. I said, absolutely, I'll do it. And then 2 hours later, I'll leave out with a hard card with my picture on it. And the next thing you know, boom, a place I've been going to since 1989, I'm now an employee of, doing it in a broadcasting role.
That's really cool.
And I am like, I sat in the truck and in my truck in the parking lot of the admin building for 10 minutes just looking at that going, have I literally just came full circle? That was like a full circle moment for me. Because I'm like, the one place, one of the few places left for me to even set foot in at that track. Because the old adage I used to tell people, and I could still tell people this day, I could walk around that track with both hands tied behind my back, blindfolded, and know where I'm at all times. I've been there so much. But that's how it came full circle for me, and then the rest is history.
So that brings me to my next question. Was that your pinch me moment in your career, or one of them, or do you have multiple?
Oh, it was my pinch me
And same
moment.
with you, Steve.
It was. One of them. Yeah. The very first one for me was realizing something that everybody has to realize when it comes to being on the air. And that's hearing yourself on a commercial for your first time.
Ugh.
You hear yourself through a pair of these and you sound normal. You don't really note the difference because you still have everything resonating in your head as well. Well, I got news for you. Sound doesn't come from your own voice box and go out and just into your ears. It's bouncing around in your head too. So it sounds very different. And Molly can attest to this.
I sure can.
When you put your voice onto a commercial and then you're out and about and you happen to hear that commercial play on the air, you're like, I sound like that?
Like, that's me?
That's not me. But that was the first pinch me moment that said, you know what? I've actually made it though, because I'm on a commercial, they approved it, and it's airing. So that was the first pinch me moment where I really wanted to pinch myself hard because I kept thinking I didn't sound good. The second major pinch me moment was when I finally broke back into Birmingham, because I grew up here, went all through school except for broadcasting school here in the Birmingham area. And I wanted to be on the air here in Birmingham, most of all. And because, again, I knew the area, loved the area. And there was a part of it when I was a senior in high school and I'd be wearing I-95 stuff around and they would look at me and go, you're never going to be on the radio. Haha. Proved you wrong. Still on too. So when I got hired by the country / oldie station at that time in 1997, that was pinch me moment number 2. And to think that Talladega would be willing to hire me, and they've kept me now for almost 20 years. And then Indycar, or Barber Motorsports Park specifically, likes me enough, thank you very much, to be able to do it now, going on 3 years, and hopefully next year will be 4. Let's go. Yeah. There's, over the course of time, it's a funny question that you ask, because there's no one pinch me moment. There's always, yep, that one, yes, that one, yes, that one. If you live long enough, you get multiple of them.
I would say that for the Talladega pinch me moment for me was on that Sunday. And the first race that I'm on a PA mic happens to be the final race that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is at Talladega.
That's true.
That's cool.
I forgot about that. That's right.
His dominant place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going, okay. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm about to have to throw my voice in front of 175,000 people, and I've never done that. And I'm going, And the words that he echoed them, because exactly when he said him, because at that time, Matt Coulter was in the box with us too. These words that were said by Matt and echoed 10 times over by him have always stuck with me. Picture you're talking to a black wall. Because if you talk to that black wall, you won't get nervous. You're only talking to yourself. And it went way smoother than I thought it could ever go that weekend, because I was as nervous as an alley cat.
Yep.
And then some.
And, us being in radio, Molly knows this as well. I mean, we're talking to a microphone, talking to a camera, and we know that there are people listening. We know that there are people watching, but we don't put faces to it because we can't see them.
Right.
The first time that I had to pick up the microphone at Talladega and see a crowd, granted, it was on a Friday when I filled in that particular weekend. So it wasn't that intimidating, but it was still intimidating because you're still talking to several thousand people, because you know that there are campers in the infield and there are people in the grandstands that are watching the Friday activities, whether it's just qualifying or whether there's an ARCA race or a truck series race. So there is a nervousness about it because it is out of a comfort zone of a radio broadcaster.
Big time.
But what really made me nervous the first time was that Sunday. And you see the full grandstands. You see all the people that are in the infield that are up trying to figure out the best place where they're going to get the best look from their particular vantage point. And you start to really begin to realize that there's 150 to 250,000 people that you're going to be talking to over a PA for, you know, however long the motor racing network is going to be, a commercial break or whatever. And it does get unnerving, but it went back to that training. And there are two ways to look at it. Matt Coulter's way is picture yourself looking at the blank wall. Don't worry about it. You're looking at the picture. You're looking at a TV monitor. Call what's on the TV monitor. The other one was picture yourself looking and just talking to your best friend. And just look at that
too.
Image in your head of your best friend. And suddenly now conversation becomes much easier.
Where that circle closed for me that day was after the first run when we done the starting lineup, because we alternated screens.
Mm-hmm.
You took one, I took the other. After that, and then Motor Racing Network went on. Just sit there and watch my phone just light up of people that were there. All they was, dude, you sound great. I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. But we were going down the elevator. with the MRN crew. And I remember Jeff Striegel, and I'm sure he remembers it too. Jeff Striegel asked me, he said, how long you been doing this? I said, race 1.
Today.
He said, well done, dude. Yeah. Well done.
It's funny to
circle
think.
Closed.
It's funny to think because, you know, they go to commercial. They have things that they have to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have the opportunity to monitor them so that we know when they're coming back. And we hear conversation going back and forth between their home office and here and, you know, trying to get updates. And, oh, by the way, hey, maybe we ought to talk about this when we come back. They've got stuff to do, but they're listening to us.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's, you know, something that all the other PA announcers at all the other tracks ought to know. They're listening to you. They hear you.
They for sure.
They know.
Well, I feel like this is the perfect, I guess, way to parlay into my next question.
Okay.
And this is also, I feel like a good way to cap this, because the blank wall thing, that just changed my life, because I was thinking about that just now.
Mm-hmm.
I could use that in my sideline reporting, my broadcasting, my radio work, whatever. So besides the blank wall, is there a piece of advice that you would give to someone, either if it's a listener, a wannabe, whoever it might be, when it comes to kind of breaking into the industry? Or if there's one thing that you could go back and tell yourself, like, man, I wish I would have done that differently, what would it be?
3 words if you're thinking about getting into the broadcasting business. Don't do it. And I don't mean that totally seriously. I will state this. It is a lot different now than when I got into it.
Yes.
When I got into it, radio stations were 6 a.m. in the morning to midnight or 24 hours a day, and they were manned constantly. There was no such thing as automation. The first automated system that I ever came across was a really complicated set of 3 reel-to-reel machines and 3 really big cart machines. And a cart, for those of you that don't know, look up an 8-track, and it's basically a smaller version of an 8-track tape. And it had the acronym FRED on there, F period, R period, E period, D period on it. And I looked at somebody and I went, why do you call it FRED? And, you know, what does it stand for? Well, I can't state exactly what it said, what it meant, but let's just say that it stood for effing ridiculous electronic device. And that was the first ever automated system I ever had. And I had to figure out when the power went out one day, how to reprogram that thing. And it was the old MS-DOS boot up system. It wasn't even Windows 95. It was MS-DOS. And it was just trying to go through and
old stuff.
Yeah. It Bill Gates' very first ever programs.
Right.
Now it's changed. There's a whole lot of voices that you hear on radio stations nowadays, but unless they're a talk radio station, like us at Talk 99.5, like Jocks 94.5, you got a whole lot of, and truth be told, there are a lot of even talk stations that do this as well, that they are either mostly or all satellite fed. Mm-hmm. As far as music stations are concerned, live and local's not really a thing much anymore. Maybe the morning show or maybe the afternoon show. That's about it. Middays, evenings, overnights, they're all voice tracked from other markets. I know of people that live and work here in the Birmingham area that are also voices in as many as 8 other cities. And that's their job, is to just put their voice on this in 8 other cities. And that means that they're on the same format in every one of those cities, and they're all playing the exact same music at the exact same time to make it easier on the talent. It's all changed. So it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to get into. If you do and you love it, you've got a sickness, and I've got it. I've had it since 1987. I can't picture doing anything else.
I developed it in 17.
Yep. But if you're going to do this, understand that you're going to have to sit and take your lumps. But be willing to do everything, learn everything. If somebody comes up to you and goes, "Can you do this?" you say yes. And you either figure out how to do it or you ask somebody else, "How do I do it?" Find your way to do it. If the boss comes to you and says, "Can you do it?" "Yes, I can." And you figure it out. Because in this business, there is no such thing as a person who is indispensable. We're all fireable at a moment's notice. TV, radio, doesn't matter. So be prepared for it. And if you love it, stick with it. Keep going at it. If there was one thing that I wished that I had done earlier, I spent about 10 years running around in small markets in Virginia and West Virginia, and I wish I had taken the plunge of coming to Birmingham faster than I did.
Okay.
I really do. I wish I had taken that opportunity faster, because you get comfortable at a place, and I'm giving Molly advice that might take her away from us, but I'll state this right now. In this business, you want to move up. Mm-hmm. The bigger the market, or the bigger the market size, Birmingham's a decent size market, but it is far from the biggest one. New York City, LA, San Francisco, all those, Dallas, Houston, they're all big markets. Cable or streaming now for like ESPN, something like that. That's where the money is. The bigger the city you're in, the bigger the money is. You're not going to get rich doing this unless you're at that situation or unless you get lucky enough to get syndicated. But learn as much as you can while you're in the place that you're at. And I got to the point where I would get comfortable where I was, and I would get intimidated over the thought of trying to have to start over. I shouldn't have ever been intimidated. Should have been willing to just take that plunge and go, you know what? I want to be in Birmingham. That's where I'm going. And I should have made that plunge quicker.
Probably mine's just really simple. If you have an opportunity to jump into something like this, don't be afraid to. Because in the hindsight being 2020 on things, you may be afraid to, but you never know where that road may take you. Because our biggest year we've ever had in 2019, me being the junkie that I am with motorsports, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would cross off 10 different facilities in one year.
Yeah.
2019, we crossed off 10. Mm-hmm.
And got lucky enough to be PA at 4. And in 2018, we had been asked by the aforementioned Russell if I would be willing to go to Darlington because they needed a PA tower announcer.
Well, how that started was that weekend of that year, that specific weekend, it was after my wife and I lost our son. We was like, look, let's go. If you want to go take a girls' weekend, by all means go. I'll go take a guys' weekend. We'll just have a weekend to ourselves. To which several people said, that's nothing wrong with that. Go do it. Go. Mm-hmm. So I got with him. I said, how about we go to Darlington? Just go to the Southern 500. Cross that off the list. Just go.
Yeah.
So Russell got it through. Got the credentials done up. Everything was 100% done, ready to go. And 2 days later,
he called me up, and I was like, and it wasn't unusual for Russell to call me up as we were starting to get ready towards Fall Talladega. So I wasn't really expecting anything. Picked it up, hey boss. And he goes, how'd you like to work Darlington? And I went, what do you mean? And he said, well, it turns out we need a PA guy up in the tower. Okay.
Check.
So did that in 2018, asked back in 2019. Well, the lady who was our liaison from the Motor Racing Network, Stacy. Hi, Stacy.
I miss you, Stacy.
Oh, yeah, we do. She asked, okay, so you're going to Darlington in 2019. Yeah, going back to Darlington. Okay. And as it started to get closer.
Richmond 3 weeks later.
Yeah. She was at Darlington and she said, well, it turns out we need somebody at Richmond. Could you fill in? Absolutely. So worked it out with the place I was working at that time and made it happen. And so Darlington, then Richmond, come here to Talladega that particular year. And Stacy was like, I'm going to get you to Homestead, Miami. I'm going to get you to Homestead, Miami.
And we're thinking 2020.
Yeah, we were thinking year, maybe 2 down the line, all good.
No.
4
weeks later.
4 days later, she called me up. I can get you into Homestead, Miami. Set aside that weekend. And she confirmed it within another few days after that. And that was up until next year. That was the last year that they had the championship weekend at Homestead, Miami. So I actually called championship weekend at Homestead, Miami.
That's really cool.
And we were getting ready to go to the airport the week in 2020 to go back to Homestead.
And then COVID
hit.
Yeah, we had everything set.
Yeah, everything was ready.
The general manager of Homestead Miami called me up and said, "Hey, we want you back."
Neil.
And he said, "I said you've got me." He said, "Okay, I'll set it all up." And he had us set up basically the same way he had me set up before. They flew me down to Miami, got me a rental car, had a hotel. Now the hotel wasn't the greatest in the world. It was a nice hotel, don't get me wrong, but it's the airport hotel. Well, it's like 45-minute drive from the airport hotel to Homestead, Miami. But I had a rental car. Wasn't worried about it. So they set up everything. Literally, all I had to do was get to the airport. That was it. They had us set up perfectly. They did a really nice job, and they were doing it all again. And all of a sudden, here comes word about things being interrupted because of COVID, and I got this real bad feeling in the back of my mind that something was going to happen. And sure enough, a couple of days later, here comes the phone call from the general manager of Homestead. Sorry, we're canceled for the weekend. I had to cancel all that stuff.
Yeah, I had to cancel my stuff too.
And everything changed.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, long story short, no, sorry, that was long story long. Too late for the whole short part. If you want to do this, jump in with both feet and do it running and learn as much as you can on the way.
Yep.
Learn as much and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yep.
And that's good advice for her too.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I learned a lot even from that I could take from me.
For sure.
Well, thank you guys. That was fun.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you being
Absolutely.
willing to do interview session round number. I don't even know what this is.
3 or 4?
2,
5,
3,
6.
4, something like that. Yeah.
We may do it again too. Why not?
I've got plenty
Just
more.
because it's fun. You know, if it's a slow beginning to the week, it's a good way to do a podcast and still be part of it. So yeah, Saturday morning on at the regular time, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Again, talking about the NHRA, going back to a place they haven't been to in almost 30 years. Things going on in Indycar and Formula One that are big time, and we're starting to learn some things that are involving more silly season news from the folks over at NASCAR, specifically the Truck Series. There is a rumor out there. We're not able to confirm it, but there's a rumor out there that one of those 5 trucks that Cowlick's got might be a star truck. We'll talk about that Saturday morning as well. Hope you join us then. Thank you for joining us here. Thanks to producer Molly and producer John for getting everything set up on the podcast and all the different places that you can find it. If you're an audio person, we're now on Spotify. Look up Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. You can find it there as well. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you Saturday morning.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.